Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. God bless you. Welcome to the End Time Truth Television. It was a scene of shame, a debacle of shame, as a pastor was brought to the court by his member, a member also of the leadership in the church, for causing alienation of affection between him and his wife, meaning that this pastor was the reason why the wife of one of the leaders in the church, the wife also happened to be a deaconess in the church. The pastor caused a deficiency of affection. He made the wife of his member to stop loving him. So this case was brought to the court. Some of you may have seen this video before. I've seen it before. I think I've done it before, but I think I deleted it or something. Now, but I know that it is also new to so many people, because the person who sent it to me, I thought she would have watched it. Now, if it is new to you, stand and watch. And from here, we would visit, another pastor that spoke something that occurred in this video, as the pastor here, the one that was taken to court, gave some unimaginable excuses as to why he had to get involved with the woman. Now, the thing is this: I am on nobody's side. I'm not siding the pastor. I'm not siding the woman that he got involved with. But I think there was something that the pastor ought to do that he didn't do. And his display in the court marks of shame and of a man that is living a life that, isn't supposed to be. And you wouldn't imagine who exposed him and why she exposed him. Now, all of these are in this video. I'd like you to sit back and enjoy the video as I play it to you.
You are welcome to the End Time Truth Television, the channel for the lovers of truth, for the truth of the end time. So if you are a lover of truth, give us a subscription, and God bless you. Shalom.
Yeah, before I go too far into this video, I want to introduce this book to you. I've been talking lately so much on once saved, always saved, and I've also received some calls, from those that don't agree with what I'm saying. And this book is a wonderful book. It was sent to me by this our brother here, Pastor Eddie Ikirigbe. I hope I'm mentioning his name well. I will recommend this book to you, The True Grace of God. Now, in this book, you are going to understand the law, grace and sin, the idea of past, present, and future sins, being forgiven at the instance of new birth, grace and law, grace and work, grace and faith, love and law, what it means to love, the Old and New Testament scriptures, how the apostles of grace related to the law is fully packed. And if you truly want to know the truth, please don't take what you have heard from persons and you admitted it because it gives you some kind of soft landing. I've always queried, am I not also a human being? Wouldn't I have wanted that God made it that easier? Listen, somebody said that, or people are saying that it is easier now than in the Old Testament. It is not easier now. It is tougher now. It is tougher now, even when Jesus said that the whole law has been shrunk into. But then it is the same law. Before, in the Old Testament, before a person is, convicted of sexual immorality, there must be 2 or 3 witnesses. But in this dispensation of grace, your eyes and your heart become the witnesses against you, because Jesus said, if you lust, you have already done it. But in the past, you must do it, and before you're even convicted, there must be persons that will bear witness, 2 or 3. So if there are no eyewitnesses that will stand and prove it that you did it, you will escape the judgment. So watch this book, and it will bless you. Now, for contact, they are the Kingdom Breakthrough Publishers. info@kingdombreakthroughnetwork.com. That is, if you want to go through email, then phone number says 0703264771, 0703264755, 080622515513. Now, this is not a paid advert. This book was sent to me, and it is very rich. There are others which have not, but I just want you to get this, the true grace of God.
Mr. Mayhorn, you are suing Mr. Hatton for $10,000 for alienation of affection because you say he had inappropriate relations with your wife. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Please explain.
I have been a member of the church where the pastor, Marcus Hayton.
Pastor? Oh.
For the past 7 years. I met the love of my life there. And I knew once we met that Marcus would be the one to officiate our wedding. About 3 years into our marriage, we started having a few problems because I had some medical issues, we were struggling financially, and we, both being leaders in the church, decided we need to go see our pastor for counseling. Marcus suggested that we do counseling individually before we came together to do something collaborative. So we both agreed. About 3 weeks later, I did notice that she started to seem a little bit happier, better spirits. And
You thought it was working.
I thought it was working. And then a little while later, she came to me saying she wanted to go down to Greenwood to be with her mother for the weekend. So I'm thinking, okay, baby, do what you got to do. Well, not long after that, I'm at the church going over some financial issues with the church secretary, and she hands me an invoice with my name on it for a hotel in Greenwood the same time that my wife was down there. She says Marcus gave it to her.
Wait a minute. So you found out through some church records that the church secretary gave you.
Yes, ma'am.
That your pastor had been
Yes, ma'am.
away with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hatton, what do you say to this? You took advantage of the couple seeking counseling?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I want to apologize for being in your court today. I've been a pastor for 25 years serving the community. The deacon here and his wife are members of my congregation. Him and his wife came to me for counseling. Now, I do know the preacher, I do know the deacon, and he kind of has a little rigid personality. So I assume that we're going to have problems considering the fact that we can't get
you can't
any
keep your
word.
Johnson and your Brick brothers,
We
brother.
can't get any words through.
Okay, Mr. Mayhorn. Are you denying that you had
No, I'm not
sex
denying
with his
it,
wife?
but there's an explanation for everything.
So you're not denying?
I'm not.
You're admitting it?
I admit it.
You said there's an explanation.
There's an explanation.
What could that be, Pastor?
Well, I'm a pastor, but I am a heterosexual man. So his wife will come into these private sessions dressing very provocatively. So yeah, she caught my attention and she was flirting with me.
She is a deaconess of the church. You've seen her
This
before
is true.
that.
This is true. This is true. And this is where it comes to my apologizing for that. Also, I would have to say that I talked to the man upstairs and I begged him to understand that I saw the wrongs in my ways and please forgive me.
All right. Okay. Okay. I'm not laughing anyway. If you didn't get what the man said, he said there was explanation to him getting down with his member's wife, and the painful aspect of it was that this couple were taking their problems, maybe the emotional problems, to the pastor. They trusted in the pastor so much, the husband at least, but not knowing that the man had been eyeing his wife, and maybe the wife too had been interested, or probably in the process of counseling and all that. And why would he want to counsel them separately? Maybe that was a method that he has been using that has been working for him, but in this case, it didn't work well. Now, so he literally is blaming it on the way the woman dresses. Now, as a pastor who found out that the woman has been dressing provocatively, what were you supposed to do? Did you do anything? Now, I want us to listen to this man here. Now, I think this video will lead me to doing several videos on the opinions of some religious leaders, pastors, on the way people should dress, whether women or men, how people should dress. Do we have a separate way of dressing to work? I mean, you can dress anyhow to work, but when you're coming to church, you dress moderately, or modesty in everything should be applicable. And we're going to look at that. But then let us listen to Pastor Lorraine Livingstone, what he had to say. You may have also seen this before, but please bear with me.
Okay, I got a little note here. And so this morning when I made it, I couldn't figure out if it was the Lord or Loran. So in the first service, I acted on the note. You decide if it's the Lord or Loran. I want to talk to the men for just a second. Men, when I talk about temptation, you know what one of the greatest temptations is, and it's her. You can't walk out of this building, you can't go anywhere in public and not see flesh, nudity, seductresses, dressing to appeal, dressing to look good. You know what I'm talking about. And short and low, and here are men who want to live right. Men that want to be holy. They got nowhere to turn because in a 360-degree circle, it's everywhere. But the problem is that they have to see it in church. No man ought to have to fight that in church. Ladies, girls, when you get up to get dressed to come to church, you need to realize you're coming to the holy house of God. You ought not to come here to show off, your legs. And if you're constantly having to fight to stay decent, you got the wrong wardrobe on. And not just for church, but for anywhere else. Now, I am not mad. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. You need to change wardrobes. This is not a place to find a date. This is not a place to find a new husband. This is a place where you come in and the Spirit of God fills it, And Jesus is here, and His holiness is here, and you ought not to be the cause for a man having to fight his flesh in a service. Well, Pastor, what about the men? I've had no complaints about a man whose britches legs were too short. Here's another one. But Pastor, that's our culture. Now hear me. When you get saved, you change cultures. I don't care what you call it. French, Russian, Romanian, I don't care what it is. When you get saved, you become a Christian and you conduct yourself as a Christian and you dress modestly for the glory of God everywhere you go.
Okay, so we go back to our friend. For him to continue this, now it will surprise you who and how the husband of the woman got to know and why the person now exposed. Now already you've heard it was the secretary. Why did the secretary do that? And we'll get to find out in the course of the video. Now, but meanwhile, let me know your thoughts on the charge that Pastor Lauren Livingston gave to his audience. He said not just for church, but even anywhere else. As Christians, once we give our life to Jesus, we change culture. There are some traditions of your people. There are some cultures of your people that are anti-God, anti-Christ, in nature, anti-Christianity. Now, once you become a Christian, you definitely have to change and dissociate with such culture. If you have a culture of people that go naked, like in South Africa, I think there is, I do not know if it is the whole of South Africa, but I think there's a tribe in South Africa that their young girls get to bare their breasts in the open at a certain festival. That is strange. You see it on YouTube, you see it everywhere. Pretty girls, young innocent girls, I think virgins, they bare their breasts, and all that. That is a culture. But if you become a Christian, that culture is no longer. So let's listen to our pastor in focus here.
And knowing that I am a pastor and that he is a member of my congregation, I want to do right. So I'm here saying that I am agreeing with him in terms of that, but I'm not going. This is not him. It's his wife, Your Honor. It's that Jezebel is the reason I'm here.
You narcissistic, gaslighting son of a biscuit eater. Stop it.
Hold on. Mr. Mayhorn.
Is that the way you talk to your pastor?
You not my
you
pastor.
talk to your
No,
friend that way?
You're not a friend.
Oh, you're a friend of
Not a friend.
Let's
get some
order.
Let's get some order. Let's get some order. So
He even has the guts to ask the man, is that how you talk to your pastor? But he doesn't know he lost the respect as a pastor. Once this happened, the excuses he's giving is actually some irresponsible excuses. And you'll get to know the kind of a life he's been living.
Pastor Hatton,
Yes.
You are agreeing and you are admitting that you had a sexual relationship with Mr. Mayhorn's wife.
Yes, ma'am. Sue me for something that I didn't do to him personally.
Your Honor.
He needs to sue his wife.
It's called alienation of
Well, ma'am, he
affection.
needs to sue his
He
wife. I
says
didn't force her to have sex with me.
Well, but you were a party to it. Go back to how you found out about this, Mr. Mayhorn. How did you figure all this out?
Now listen.
I was working with the church secretary, Miss Betty Jones. She handed me an invoice showing that with my name on it. I do have it here for your records.
I'd like to see it.
Stab it.
Miss Jones.
Can you give me all your evidence that you brought to court, please?
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the hotel bill?
That's also my food delivery bill because subsequently my wife left me. She told me she didn't want to be married with me anymore. So now I got to cook for myself. I got to clean my own house.
So you don't know how to cook and clean?
You know what? Your mama.
All right, do you have any evidence for me, sir?
Evidence in terms of what, ma'am?
Evidence that you bring to court to prove your case.
This is my word against. I already admitted that I had relations with his wife.
That's exactly right. But you said a Jezebel spirit? I thought you might have brought in
so we
something
can get into that.
to
We can
prove that
definitely.
you were not intentional in this. Because if you intentionally came between him and his wife, that's the basis for alienation of affection.
Well,
And now your witness is standing. I'd like to hear from her, Mr. Mayhorn. State your name for the record, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Betty Jones.
Hello, Ms. Jones. What would you like to add to this?
I would like to add that I have been the church secretary for over 25 years. Nothing comes to the church I will not see.
Okay.
So I was taken aback when this receipt came to the church, and I knew Mr. Mayhorn had not been away. The receipt was in his name, and I knew the pastor had been away.
Okay, stop. I want to understand this. You saw a receipt. Whose name was on the receipt?
The name on the receipt was Mr. Mayhorn.
Okay, so how did you come to realize that the pastor was responsible for this receipt?
Because he gave it to me.
Oh.
And I had already had an inkling that something was transpiring between the pastor and Mr.
I didn't give you
Mayhorn's
just one
wife.
receipt. You are the church secretary, so you are in charge of all the receipts. And if you had any problem with anything that I did, you could have came to me. We wouldn't have been here today.
Pastor Hatton,
Yes, ma'am.
you're not giving no sermon in here, and you're definitely not yelling at no women. So bring it down a notch.
Yes, ma'am.
It was impossible for me to go to him because I had already done something amiss myself. I had been in a relationship with the pastor.
Oh, so this is jealousy.
And he promised to me that I was the only person.
All right, here we go. So ostensibly, this is where the whole thing gets more mixed up and more messier. You see, the pastor was also sleeping with the secretary, only God knows for how long. And so I think out of jealousy, the woman decided to leak this secret, in order to scatter the two. Now the question is, the truth is that this, I wouldn't call it a mistake, because from the whole thing that has transpired, the pastor calculated it. And from where I think the whole thing was wrong was when he decided to counsel them both, separately. And at that point in time, I think that he has been nursing something for the woman, and probably because of maybe the things he has seen in the body of the woman, he truly wants to explore. But that is not an excuse. Anyway, it is not an excuse. And now he got exposed because he also was dealing with the secretary in the church, and the secretary has become jealous that another woman probably has taken her place, even though that she said she couldn't approach him because she too had done something amiss, meaning that she owned up to the fact that it was wrong. I wouldn't know if she was saying that because of the presence where she found herself now, and be mindful that this would get out there and the church will also know about it, or that she meant it. We wouldn't know. But then I think this is a whole lot of a disgrace. Well, let's watch and see what the judge finally decided.
But when I found out I wasn't the only person, I was highly perturbed.
Well, listen, babe, if you're going to tell the truth, tell the whole truth. The only reason you say anything to this man is because you were jealous.
No.
Because I was with his wife and not with you.
No.
Be honest.
The church secretary just said, not only are you sleeping with the deacon's wife, you were sleeping with her too.
Yeah.
And you didn't deny it.
Don't deny any of it.
What kind of pastoring are you doing?
Well, I'll say this. I'm not the first pastor you heard anything like that about.
Actually, you are. This is an easy case, right?
Easy in
because
terms of-
you've admitted that you slept with his wife.
Yes.
And under the law, you intentionally do that when you know they're married. You even knew their marriage was going through a bit of a rocky time. They came to you for help, for counsel. And instead, I always say this, do not seek counsel under the covers. And that's exactly where you led Ms. Mayhorn. And it's for that, It is for that reason, I'm done hearing from you. It is for that reason, it has been determined by this court that we are ruling in favor of the plaintiff for $10,000. Pay it. And if I were you, I would step down as pastor. I don't think this is a role you take seriously or you value, and God don't like ugly. Court is adjourned.
All rise.
Judge Lake has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $10,000.
Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, but today is the day of recompense. You giving up the money, chump. You giving up the money, chump. You giving up the money, chump.
Okay, well, this is where it ends. For me, this is where we are stopping it. Let me know what you think about it. And it's sad anyway. Now, you look at the man, you see that he's not even repentant. He's not sorry for doing that. If he had been sorry, they wouldn't have come to court. And he's not even ashamed. He was asking the lawyer, the judge was asking the judge, I'm sure I'm not the only person you have, sorry, that he's not the only pastor who she may have heard to do something like that. Now, is that a good identity? Is that a good thing? I really do not understand about that. Let me know what you think about this. Now, we're going to be dealing on indecent dressings, how to dress and how not to dress. We're going to deal on that. I know I may lose some friends on that, but it doesn't matter. These things has to be discussed. We're talking about the kingdom of God and the culture of eternity. In heaven, we cannot go naked. There will be no men sagging in heaven. And there will be no women showing their laps and their breasts in heaven. And that is why sinners will not be allowed into heaven, because If you allow, for instance, a seductress into heaven, she may want to seduce the angels of God in heaven. We'll see in the next video. Till then, from me to you. Shalom.